The necessity of discomfort. I'm using that phrase in the context of expanding our awareness. The old saying, no pain, no gain. Well, that's kind of really true, very profound. I can remember many years ago, maybe 12, 13 years ago, Mary Ellen O'Meara was doing an overview of the Course in Miracles here on one Wednesday evening. And I'll never forget what she said, but the thing that really stuck with me. She said, isn't it strange how people will generally only change when the pain and discomfort of being where you are becomes greater than your fear of the unknown? And that stuck with me all these years, but so many of us look at it that way. But why are those two choices always based on the negative assumptions? The pain versus the fear. We're making life choices based on a negative foundation. What if we use this discomfort as a signal for ourselves that we can make some adjustments that bring about positive results? Not using the negative assumptions to bring about the change. Like if you go in there, I'll beat you. Oh. You stay out here, life might be a little better. Might be more enjoyable. But we creatures, we seem to find such comfort in familiarity, no matter how painful it is. My job, as I understand it, is to share ideas and thoughts that might potentially help each of us elevate our consciousness. It might expand our awareness, might allow us to make some positive shifts and changes in our lives to enrich our lives and to enhance the good of the whole. What I'm going to talk about in a moment, I'm going to do so with the intention of making you uncomfortable. I hope you are. I want you to be uncomfortable, and I want that discomfort to motivate you to think for yourself and to consider positive possibilities that you might have at your disposal. What do you think that the most harmful activity that every single one of us participates in on a daily basis might be?
Plastic.
Plastic. That's a little bit of what I'm talking about. Any other ideas? What's the most harmful activity that every single one of us participates in on a daily basis? What's that? Thinking wrong. Thinking wrong. Well, how about exploitation? I believe that every single one of us participates in exploitation, whether directly or indirectly, every single day of our lives. Probably the biggest way we all participate is our rate of consumption. We consume and consume and consume and consume most of any society on the face of the earth. Some of those things that we consume. How about our clothing? Probably 90% of the articles of clothing that we are wearing in this room today were made as the result of some woman or child being exploited for like 14 cents an hour to make this clothing. How many of us have been sitting at the drive-thru at In-N-Out Burger thinking about, we ought to do something about these corporations polluting the air while we sit there with our motors on. Yesterday I cleaned out my refrigerator and I threw in my trash a half a loaf of fuzzy bread. I threw 3 apples that were all kind of, and an orange that was all sunk in, and some other things in Tupperware that I don't know what they were. And I didn't even compost them. I just threw them in the trash. I did that. Yesterday, in this country, we threw away enough food to feed every person in the world that did not have food yesterday. I don't want to call it waste, exploitation. Have I left anybody out? Is anybody not able to relate to anything I've said so far? But I think that the most tragic form of exploitation that every one of us participates in is when we exploit ourselves. How many times do we prostitute our values, our principles, our individual, deep down spiritual morality, all for some job, all for creating this image of us that we want people to like. When we exploit all these real things that we are to create a relationship with someone with the expectancy that it's going to thrive based on exploited participation. Just outside of Carson City, Nevada, on the south end of town, right on the main highway going out of town, there is a fabulous, vast restaurant. It's been there for years. It's famous. And they have wonderful meats. They have leg of lamb that's out of this world. And when you go in there for dinner, they give you at your table this loaf of sheepherder's bread, warm right out of the oven. Well, a while back, Governor Brown was in Carson City meeting with the governor of Nevada. And after their meeting, he had 3 other people from his administration with him, and they decided to go to this vast restaurant. So they were halfway through their dinner, and Governor Brown motioned to the waiter who came up. He said, "Is everything all right?" He said, "Oh, everything's marvelous, but we'd really like another loaf of bread." He said, "Well, sir," he said, "our policy is that when we serve you dinner, we put a loaf on the table. We're happy to bring you another loaf, but we're going to have to charge you $5 for it." And Jerry said, "Maybe you're not aware of who I am. I happen to be Jerry Brown, the governor of the great state of California, and I'd really like to have another loaf of bread." Bob did not exploit himself. And if we think about ourselves, every time we feel discomfort, that can be a signal that there is perhaps something we could shift in a positive way rather than a negative way. It's designed that way. That's why we have this thing called discomfort. It's as necessary as the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink. Just like when you hold your hand over a candle, you move your hand away. You're supposed to change your activity. That's why we have discomfort. When we feel that discomfort, we can make changes in what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're saying. Not based on negative assumptions, based on something positive, making a positive shift in our thoughts and our speech. I don't know how much today you will remember. Maybe just the sheepherder's bread thing. But I'm going to ask you to take a possibility home with you. Could it be possible that discomfort is actually a spiritual gift that we have? It's that bearable little signal that we have the power, the divine wisdom, the divine mind to make some positive changes in our world that will alleviate not only our discomfort, but the discomfort of those around us. And in so doing, elevate our consciousness. Increase the good of the whole. Changing the consciousness of our universe. And all that can come from that wonderful little gift called discomfort. Please sit down. Let's get together now. Stand up.